Although I've never owned an iPhone, I'm pretty sure what Steve Jobs did is an amazing thing. And of course, there's been tons of coverage about his life, but today I want to take a closer look at one phase of his life that hasn't been covered as much, which is the trip to India that he took after he dropped out of college. Jobs is one of the most famous examples of a college dropout. College wasn't helping him find out what he wanted to do with his life or who he was, and he didn't like being forced to take classes that he didn't want to. So he dropped out. And then he went to India with his friend Daniel Kotke. Daniel was, of course, a friend from college, but he also became the first official employee of Apple. Jobs later said that the trip was intended to find enlightenment. His original goal was to meet Neem Karoli Baba, who wrote Be Here Now, which is a book on spiritual awakening. But the two soon found out that Neem had passed away, and they realized that India wasn't exactly what they had expected. Years later, he pointed out how he had culture shock coming back to America. He noticed that the people in the Indian countryside used their intuition instead of their intellect. He realized that rational thought was an invention by the West, and it had its strengths and its drawbacks. For one, he discovered how restless the Western mind actually is. Jobs was always interested in Eastern philosophy, and traveling to India to experience this alternate way of thinking really helped him build out the ethos of think different that became critical at Apple. During his time in India, Jobs also started admiring Mahatma Gandhi, who was actually featured in one of Apple's Think Different ad campaigns in 1997. Instead of becoming enlightened as he had originally planned, Jobs actually spent most of his time barely surviving. He was haggling for food on the streets, but in the process he became resourceful and stubborn, traits that he would of course use when he was building Apple. The trip came to a pretty sudden end as Daniel Kotke lost his traveler's checks and the two had to head home. And although Jobs didn't find the enlightenment that he desired, it certainly shaped who he was and by extension what Apple became. For one, it bolstered his curiosity with Zen Buddhism that helped him become more in touch with his emotions and learn to look at the world through a lens of intuition, feeling, and aesthetic as opposed to pure reasoning. This is obviously a cornerstone of Apple, which places emphasis on both the technical functionality as well as the design and user experience. The trip helped him realize what he wanted and what he didn't want. Enlightenment in the life of a monk wasn't really for him. He also later said, "It was one of the first times that I started to realize that maybe Thomas Edison did a lot more to improve the world than Karl Marx and Neem Karoli Baba put together." If Steve Jobs never found or crafted that vision, he would not have impacted the world the way he did, and I probably wouldn't be making this video. The hustler culture doesn't talk about creating goals, it really only talks about how do you actually achieve them. But the first step to achieving a goal is to define it, right? And there's really a lack of content and literature around that. And personally, I think taking time off to travel, and not just to travel, but to actually live in extended periods in other places, is a great way to start building those goals and exposing yourself to other avenues through life and defining what it is that you actually want to do. Leaders are leaders because of their vision. That's the main thing that differentiates them from other people. Building a compelling vision gives you power. Energy starts to accumulate around you. People will start following you. People will start liking you more. That's why some people say Steve Jobs' greatest innovation was himself. A good self-reinvention can give rise to your life's work, and that's the true value of travel and of self-exploration. An early engineer at Apple, Tony Fadell, who actually invented the iPod, mentioned that Steve Jobs would frequently take vacations for multiple days. And it was during those trips that he actually aligned his vision in his mind and led the team towards that vision. So there's absolutely no shame in taking some time off. I recommend entrepreneurs do so at least from time to time. Read the 4-Hour Workweek if you're interested in this and you need some inspiration. Doing a small vacation and exploring yourself could be the most important thing that you actually do in your entire life because it might just well define your entire life.